shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
The constitutional point of view was critical for Jefferson's support of the Bill of Rights.
As we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens, I can hear you!
Is time running out?
It's Saturday. Welcome to the Hayden Collins radio program, The Intelligence Syndicate. I'm Hayden Collins, your host. Hey, looking at a lot of posts out there. The press is going upside down and backwards because, believe it or not, they've got nothing to report on in government because there's nothing going on in government. So they're doing entertainment television again, of course, and politics. And so we're going to bypass on all that. You've heard enough of that on the news. We're going to go somewhere else. The Intelligence Syndicate put together this think tank, and we were in-depth studies, deep in-depth studies. And I can guarantee you Google was not used, nor was Wikipedia. So after significant research, we had to address when socialism was tried in the United States and how it failed. Yeah, you heard me right. When socialism was tried in the United States and it failed. Now, there's some individuals out there right now, oh, it was never tried, and this, that, and the other. Oh, what they don't learn in school and Common Core. And this is something that kills me. I'm educating right now. I have students, and I'm looking at the manual and the script and the manual and the writ of common wisdom. Those of you that follow that one know it's sarcasm at its best. But they have an entire paragraph, and I do mean this, an entire paragraph about the first time socialism was tried in the United States. So I look at that and I go, oh my gosh, I spent weeks on this. We studied this for weeks in the 7th grade or 8th grade, whatever it was. We did reports. We studied what went wrong. And this was before the Department of Education. Understand, I went through school before the Department of Education. So I actually got a competitive education. And keep in mind, when we had 50 states doing 50 different levels of education competing against each other, we had a higher education standard then than we do now, with all of them under one, department, and let's, use standardized testing or whatever the case may be. Now we're 17th in the world. We were never, oh dear God, we would never accept that during my time period. Heads would roll. However, this wonderful textbook that we have that we're studying, it shows a full paragraph. We went to, not the library, but we went to my library, my home library, where I keep a selection of books around for just such an occasion. Because history writes itself out of things it doesn't like. And people write history a different way as the years go on to provide for political circumstances and political correctness. So once you see that trend, it's highly likely that you should run out and buy every old encyclopedia you can put your hands on before political correctness came around. Because I pulled up the encyclopedia and there are 21 pages of the Mayflower and the Mayflower Compact. Some light bulbs just went off out there. So let me describe this. I'm not going to go to the whole Mayflower story because there's a paragraph on that. And those of you that were educated know that there was some kind of a wooden ship that came over from England to get away from England for some reason that, started some colony that, whatever. Where's my cell phone? Nonetheless, let me give you some details here. Just want to throw some details at you. There were 41 male passengers of head of families, 15 male servants. We have the names of each and every one of those on the manifest. That documentation was saved. And this is from 1624. You know, I don't even know where to go with this. The ship dropped anchor in Cape Cod, which is now known as Provincetown Harbor. It's at Cape Point. And I guess, you want to call it Plymouth Harbor or whatever. They used to call it Plymouth Rock. Whatever the case may be. And when they landed, or before they landed, they had to have a conversation. And the conversation was, we've got to form our own government. We've got to form our own position on how we're going to take care of ourselves. We can't just come out here and be lawless and so on and so forth. So they formed the first socialist enterprise inside the United States. And for those of you out there that say, other countries have done it wrong and so on and so forth, I want to go through the hit parade for you here. Every available resource in the United States was untouched. Every available opportunity in the United States was untouched. There was no government. There was no opposition. There was no opposition to their attempt at socialism. There was not a negative individual on board. It was all socialism. Yay. Now, I'm going to read this, and it's a little rough to get through. And it's not very long, but it's a little rough to get through, okay? But basically, it's committing to each other to share everything, to work everything together so they could survive. Now, I'm not going to ruin the story for you. But let me read this. This is the Mayflower Compact, okay? In the name of God, amen. We, whose names are underwritten, the loyal subjects of our dread sovereign Lord King James, by the grace of God, and of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, King, Defender of the Faith, etc. They actually put etc. on there. have undertaken for the glory of God and the advancement of the Christian faith, in honor of our King, country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia. Do by these presents solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and of another covenant, and by combined ourselves together in civil body politic for our better ordering and preservation, and furthermore of the ends of aforesaid, and by the virtue hereof to enact, constitute, and frame just and equal laws, ordinances, acts, constitutions, and offices from time to time, as shall be thought most meet and convenient for the general good of the colony, unto which we promise all due submission and obedience, in witness whereof we have hereunto subscribed our names at Cape Cod, the 11th of November, in the year of our reign of our sovereign Lord, King James of England, France and Ireland, and the 18th, and of Scotland, the 54th, Anno Domini. Domini. Oh, okay. 1620. All right. So basically, submission. We will do anything we all agree on. We'll all vote on it, and majority rule, so it's mob rule. And not only is it mob rule, it is, by the grace of God, mob rule. So you have religion behind it too. So everything that's, together there, they've committed their families. Now, the most unique thing about this, which is, boy, this really does show the sign of the times, of course. But from what I can read here and what I can see, the 15 male servants signed the document as well. Now, I did a little bit of research trying to pull together some information. I actually did some journalistic papers, and I pulled up something to the Library of Congress. But apparently, this was the first attempt. Now, think about it. The servants are not necessarily slaves, but they're servants to the individuals they brought over, okay? Indentured servitude, whatever the case may be. But they signed this document as equals. That's the way it looks. And the male signs the document. No children, no women sign that document. Now, let's discuss how this failed. And it failed miserably. It failed so bad. But it didn't fail for any of the reasons that you would hear on entertainment television today, or any young individual going, oh, we've got to do this socialism thing. It works. It's this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. No. We're watching it fail around the world. Massive debt and things going really, really poorly. In fact, we had it under the Obama administration, and we were going that way. And the unemployment was high. Everything was high. Here's an interesting fact for you, just so you can laugh a little bit. Spain had an unemployment rate, what was it, God, in the 30s maybe, Their government has been shut down for almost a year. The unemployment rate is down to 17%, and their GDP is up without government. just kind of want to put that out there. Their economy is doing better without the socialist government being involved. I think those that are in their stalemate in Spain are in stalemate on purpose, trying to shut down the absolutes of the socialist government, just so they can get a taste of what it was like prior to World War II, I guess. I don't know. All right, so let's go back to the failures that took place. You got to imagine you're getting off the ship. You just signed this compact. I mean, you got basically, 50 families, 55 families, somewhere in there. So that means effectively your first season on the ground, you got a lot of trees to cut, because you've got to do 55 homes before winter gets there. And you've only got a few months to do this, so it's a very big construction effort. You got to chop enough firewood to make sure that, you survive the winter. You got to have heat. You got to have hunting parties. You have to go out and get food, because you're obviously not going to plant food the first year you're there. So you got to live off the land. You're basically hunter-gatherers at that moment. Socialist hunter and gatherers. So things didn't go all too well with this little scenario. They didn't get enough cabins built. There was some overcrowding. Sanitary things were obviously not addressed. Food was scarce. Hunting didn't go as well as they thought it would, I guess. Things of that nature. So, within the first full year, there was a significant downgrade in what was taking place, personnel-wise and housing-wise and everything. But they're good socialists. So, boy, how do you best describe this? The first socialist attempt inside the United States failed so bad that half of the population of that group died before they realized how bad it was. They got foreign aid from a foreign nation with emergency supplies to keep them alive, to keep the colony alive. They negotiated, got aid. And then, of course, we all know history after that. And well, some of us do that don't read the paragraph that's in the common manuals. They have to do a little bit of research. Educational journals are actually pretty good at the university level if you're going to do some research out there and educate yourself. Because I know I have a lot of homeschoolers that listen to the show. But think about this for a moment. The information is just not in the book. You got to do some additional research. So, the foreign nation. Okay, so the foreign nation that bailed them out were the Native Americans, the Indians. The foreign nation that provided aid was the Indians. And apparently it was because the Great Spirit did not want to see these people die and starve. Who knows? But the whole socialist program inside the United States died and starved to death, had to receive foreign aid from a nation, and actually, you want to say, for lack of a better term, actually funding, if you want to look at it that way, even though there were no funds or anything like that. But it was an exchange of goods. There were trades that took place after that. There was a relationship that was built that actually, brought survival to that group of individuals that tried bringing socialism to the United States. Now, that's just a tad bit of history there. There's not a way that they could say, hey, they all landed and went out and built their own cabins and only one or two families survived. I don't know if the odds would have been better. I don't know if the odds would have been worse. But I do know this. If a man was responsible for his own family and didn't rely on government to house his family, that cabin would have been built. As much wood as he can grab would have been split. And by God, when it came hunting time, he was out hunting. And, and Mama was going to see to it. So there's a direct correlation to a man providing for his family and a government providing for the family. Now, what happened after this? Now, historically, you have to read a little bit, and you have to look at what the next ships did when they showed up and things of that nature. But it was only tried once. It wasn't tried with every colony. They didn't even think about it. It was not tried with every colony. It was tried once. The failure got around real quick. Nobody else tried it. Nobody else was even interested in trying it. And pretty much every colony after that, started developing. Now, there were failed colonies, and there were colonies that succeeded, and so on and so forth, but a majority of them succeeded, otherwise we wouldn't be here. Think about it like this. It was so bad. It was so bad that if it wasn't for the Native Americans, it would be like another lost colony in history. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right, a couple of things. I want to make some notes here. Interns, we do a roundtable. And if you'd like to be a part of the roundtable to discuss things like this, to be a part of the think tank of the Intelligence Syndicate, when we actually get together and do these things, you need to email Hayden@haydencollins.org. I will send you to the lead intern. We will come back and say, hey, you're in or you're out, but we're specifically looking for high school students or college students. Now, the objective of this, the whole objective of the program here, if you're interested in marketing, you're interested in sales, you're interested in web design, IT, on-air personality, production, engineering, then you want to spend some time with us, because we will give you a very nice reference list. Every show that you're on credits. Credits roll. As these credits produce themselves, and your name's on it, you're able to mark it on your resume for being a part of a nationwide show that's been around for almost a decade now. And we've got a pretty good history. One of the interns is working for the Congress in Europe and calls in every now and then. One of the past interns is now working for a Fox News affiliate in Kentucky, and there's some sizable amount of money she's bringing in there. Another one went to Washington, D.C. He's making money. Well, actually, two went to Washington, D.C. They're both making money, him and her. So, it puts something on your resume other than the fact that you went to school. Hi, I went to school. Here's my resume. No, 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 no. I actually, while I was in school, I interned with a radio program. I was an on-air personality. I did production. These are all the things that I did. And here's the resume. Here's a reference letter from the show. And we kind of help out. So if you're interested in that line of work and you want to take this opportunity, again, just email Hayden@HaydenCollins.org. Send it out to us. And you'll get interviewed for the intelligence syndicate. You'll be thrown into the think tanks, and you'll have to come up with things like, oh my gosh, wait a second, the Mayflower Compact? Holy cats, that was our first attempt at socialism. And wait, there's only a paragraph in the Common Book for Common Core about this whole thing? No wonder they're trying to hide it. Oh yeah, and there's some guidelines here. The presidential election's coming up. And the presidential election, I'll tell you what we did last time. There were 17 candidates for the Republicans when they started, went to 16, so on and so forth. We had 12 interns with us. So each intern, we put a name in a jar, and the intern had to pull the name out of the jar, and that is the presidential candidate they had to follow. Now, there were 3 Democratic candidates, so that was easy to follow. Actually, what had happened was 2 of the Democratic members of the show decided to follow those 3. They said they would follow the Democratic side. And the Libertarians and the Conservatives and the Republicans divided up and covered the Republican side. Now, the trick to this game is, and it's a game, whatever name you draw, you have to follow that individual until they drop out or until they win. If your individual drops out, you, as an intern, have to endorse and join one of the individuals that are left. You would be so surprised of the alliances that were built inside the intelligence syndicate from candidates that were left over and candidates that were supported and not supported. And the young lady, and she's in college, she's graduating, so she hasn't been with the show now for a year because she got really busy in the last 2 years. She had Donald Trump. She did not like him at the beginning, hated him at the beginning, and then before the end of the election, we go, oh my God, this guy's a genius, I love him. And now she's really loving him because as she graduates college, she's graduating college in the best economy this country has seen in decades. And she has a way better opportunity at success for a job with money than I ever had when I graduated, because I did not graduate into an economy this good. I've had to live through some terrible economies. The fortunate thing for me is if things stay this good for maybe the next 15 or 20 years, I'll be able to retire in this kind of economy and enjoy a very good retirement, probably better than previous individuals under other conditions. All right, we come back from the break. The twins have lined up, and we'll see what they have to say this week. And then keep in mind, as soon as we get enough interns, we do the roundtable. See you after the break.